Good morning. It is a very rainy morning here in Gothenburg, and I absolutely hate being outside in the rain. So I suppose that this is what they mean when an artist suffers for his art. Well, that's a little bit dramatic, but anywho, here I am talking to you guys again, and today we're going to discuss testing, and not actually unit testing, believe it or not, or acceptance testing, or any of that other trendy stuff that we programmers do. We're going to talk about quality assurance or QA work or testing work. And you may or may not know this, but there is actually, for every, well, not every requirement for being a programmer, but there are quite a few there's quite a few jobs out there for people who do manual testing or being a tester. It's actually something that you can educate yourself in. You can actually go and learn how to be a professional software tester. This is especially a big business in Ireland, for example. And basically what it means is that you have, it's for the most part a full-time job where you sit and regression test large applications. You learn the system inwards and outwards, and you basically try to break it. Whenever there's a software release, you test all the features to make sure that it's still working. And the thing I wanted to touch on, remembering that this is actually a YouTube channel for programmers, is that this is something that is actually very important. Because I argue that testing, or rather what we call regression testing or exploratory testing, smoke testing, like all these different concepts that boil down to the same basic principle. You want to make sure that whenever there's a new commit to the production code that's made by some sloppy programmer, because who writes perfect code, right? You want to have somebody who just makes sure that some unknown person didn't break the whole thing, right? And the reason why you don't want the programmer to do this is because as a programmer, especially when you work with the application and you develop these habits of doing something. So you will naturally, as you repeat things over and over and over, you find yourself actually doing things in a certain pattern. And that's actually a little bit dangerous, because what if your sequence of doing something on the application actually won't trigger an issue? Ideally, you want somebody who comes in, who's never used the application or done anything like it, and does it in a different way. It's kind of like having a fresh pair of eyes to look at a problem that you've been stuck with for a very long time. Odds are that they are going to be able to provide you with valuable insight. And there's another reason why it's very important that you have people that are not that technical, or not programmers are at the top of this technical spectrum. The reason why you don't want that is because if you have too much of an understanding of how something works, you get a little bit lazy. That's the nature of programmers. We try to automate things, we try to make things go faster, and because we understand how things work underneath, we make assumptions, and sometimes those assumptions are correct, and a lot of the times they're not, and we do a worse job at actually testing things when it's more about, you actually want somebody to actually do the thing in the exact way a user would do it. Ideally, you would have a bunch of people who are in your focus group for the application that you're building, just rigorously testing your application over and over and over again. That would be ideal. And this is fairly important work. Now, I will say that I've had both good experiences and bad experiences working with professional testers. And I think that what I can tell you is that the good parts have been really good. I've learned a lot from working with some people who they gave me a lot of insight into processes and helping me understand how to set up a proper testing strategy to assure basically that the quality of the application is maintained over time. And I've been very happy to learn these things from professional testers. And I've also had testers, and I think that this is true, especially it's true for both designers and for testers, I suppose. So the way that I look, and this, I don't want to sound like I'm pompous or anything like that now, but in the world of IT, in general, the most solid piece of any software team is the programmer. And unfortunately, we live in a world where some people will actually treat the contribution, or like the profession, or belittle rather, some people's profession based on their own perception of value in said profession. So what I mean by that is that a programmer in a software development team very rarely has to justify his or her contribution to the project, because it's very obvious that, hey, the person writing the code in a software company is very valuable to the company. And that actually feeds a lot of programmers' egos a little bit too much. Like, I've talked to a lot of testers who feel like they're treated like second-class citizens because programmers, the thing that you're doing, it's not as complicated as the programmers. We build the thing and you just test it. And they talk down to these people. And I can tell you firsthand that yes, it's true that the testing software may not require as much, schoolwork, or it may not require the same, like the amount of knowledge that a programmer may need. But I think about it in terms of, we're all contributing to a team, if you will, and it's very much like, doctors and nurses and so forth. It's not about who is doing the most amount of work or who is providing the most amount of value. It is about playing in a team. It's about understanding that as a programmer, you need somebody to be able to help you with the flaws in your code. Because if you think about it, if you want to be a bit humble about it, I mean, if you were a better programmer, the testers wouldn't have a job, but they do. So that means that, hey, maybe you're not as perfect as you think you are. And let's be honest, this goes for everything. Like, it's not about who is the most valuable to the company. It's about working as a team. It's about everybody contributing with the stuff that they're really good at to make the quality of the entire product better. And unfortunately, there are quite a few. I think that this kind of air about who's better, like who's providing more value, who's providing less value, is infecting a lot of people. I met this one guy he came to my university, and he was a professional tester. And I've never ever listened to somebody who I felt so strong. I felt so like I've had a real, how do I put this? He gave me an impression that he truly needed to justify his own value. I think he went a little bit too far. He was basically trying to say that, oh yeah, as a programmer, it requires a lot of you and so forth. But we testers are very important too, and we are at least as good as you guys. And it made me feel a little bit like, why are you justifying your own profession to me like this? Why are you so insecure about your own value? And I think you should kind of let that go. If you're a designer or if you're a tester, yeah, sure, you're not a programmer, but you are contributing value, and you should be proud of the work that you're doing.